I'm kind of bad day. Okay, so just to kind of go over the calendar real quick, we did ambiguous case for using law of sines yesterday, and we still probably need more practice with it, but we are going to cover the last section before our quiz. Our quiz will be next Friday, so we'll do law of cosines today. I think the most difficult thing within this section is going to be the ambiguous case. Okay, so law of cosines. There's a couple of things we have to watch out for, but fifth period felt pretty comfortable with it, so I think that will go the same case with you guys. So we'll cover our last new set of material today, and then next Thursday, I won't see you guys Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next Thursday, we'll do a full quiz review. It'll just be over law of sines and law of cosines. And we'll have a quiz the following Friday. And then we need to do one more new section with area of a triangle, some word problems, and then test the following Thursday.
Do juniors take PSAT?
Yes. Yes, juniors take PSAT.
They're required.
Yeah.
It's not required.
I think this is also the day when students are taking the SAT, right? I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our schedule for these next few weeks. Any questions? Okay, so if you guys can go to page 12. Okay, I do want to kind of give a quick overview so that we can kind of have a big kind of bird's eye view of all the different triangles and what situations to do with each of these problems. Okay. Okay, so when you're looking at a triangle, you're going to be given a couple of options. Okay, so I want to kind of talk about what we've done so far. The easiest problems are the ones where they give you two angles. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's angle side angle or it's angle angle side. If you see two angles, you know you can just use law of sines, and this is basically what you guys did on the check-in quiz. You showed that you could do this. These are the easy ones. Okay, and then we talked about the ambiguous case where if I have a side angle, this is where we have to focus on finding that vertical height, because we don't know exactly what's happening with that hanging side, right? That hanging side could end up being no triangle. It could end up being a acute triangle. It could end up being one right triangle, but then it could also land somewhere where it's that ambiguous case, an obtuse or a acute triangle. So we probably still need to do a bit more practice with this, but we know that we have to, in the case where there's two triangles, we have to solve for one triangle first, and then use that information to solve the second triangle. Okay, but law of sines can handle all these situations. Okay. Now today, we're going to be looking at two other cases. This is where we're dealing with either a side angle side or a side side side. So side angle side is where your angle that's given is sitting nicely between two known sides. There's not going to be any ambiguous case here except for this side angle. Okay, so if you see side angle side, we're going to be using law of cosines. Okay, now there are different variations of law of cosines, but we're just going to use the one where there's an angle identified. So if it's angle A that's given, then we'll use the law of cosines for angle A. If it's angle B that's given, then we'll use a law of cosines for angle B. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about where if you see a side, that's also a law of cosines. Okay, so just a quick preview. We're going to be starting with the largest angle, and the largest angle is always going to be across your longest side. Okay, so the hard part, not the hard part, but the important things about law of cosines is knowing where to start. Okay, first of all, identifying that we understand we're looking at a side angle side or side side side, and then being able to know which equation to choose to start the process. Now these problems will allow us to find the one missing part that we need, and then the rest of the problem we can use law of sines to clean up and find the rest of the information. Okay, okay, so let's go to page 12. Okay, we're not going to worry about the proof for law of cosines. Just wanted to kind of go down to the middle of the page and just show that there are 3 formulas, and these formulas will be given to you. We just have to be able to know which ones to use and how to use them. Okay, so again, page 12. Okay, law of cosines allows us to solve for a non-right triangle when we have 3 sides, side, 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 or 2 side lengths and an included angles measures. Angles measured. That means your angle that is known is sitting nicely between 2 known sides, side angle side. Okay, so let's look at example 1. Solve triangle ABC, round answers to the nearest tenth. The information given, angle A, side B, side C. Eventually, we're going to have to create the triangle ourselves. It may not look exactly like the one given, but we should be able to identify that uppercase is referring to angle measures, lowercase is referring to side lengths, and then your uppercase and lowercase will always be across from each other, side length and angle. Okay. So the way that they have drawn here is you got angle A, 45 degrees, side B, 23, and side C, 19. Right. Can you tell what type of triangle this is? Is this this is side angle side? Okay, so we have to recognize this as side angle side. This is not side side angle. If it's side side angle, then we'll use the ambiguous case, or we'll test going through, finding that vertical height. Okay, but we understand that this is a side angle side, and we're going to connect that with using law of cosines. Okay, so if it's side angle side, this is pretty straightforward. You're just going to box off angle A because this is, you're going to be choosing the cosine formula that has angle A involved. Okay, so we look above. There's only one that has angle A, so we know we're going to choose this third one here. Okay. Now we're going to write the formula down. Something I think helps, especially when we're entering all this in the calculator, is putting parentheses around the last set of terms. That will ensure that your calculator is going to do the order of operations that you intended to do, and it won't do things out of order. Okay, so I think having that set of parentheses can potentially save some miscalculations. Okay, so we know we're targeting the third formula because that formula is the only one that has angle A, and we want angle A involved because we have that information. Okay, so we're going to copy that formula down. And the nice thing about side angle side is everything is going to be on the right side. We don't have to worry about, the only thing we need to do is to worry about the square root, but everything is going to be nicely ready for us on the right side. And the missing variable is going to be on the left side. It's going to be nice and clean here. So go ahead and plug everything in. Okay, so now we're just going to practice entering this into our calculator. Okay, again, make sure you're in degree mode. Having those set of parentheses, I think, will be very helpful for us. Okay, is that our final answer? Okay, we still gotta do what? Square root, good. Yeah, so that's, we gotta find the true a value. Right now we're still sitting at a squared. All right, take the square roots. Technically, there's a plus or minus involved, but we know that the negative is not going to make sense for a side length. Oh, I encourage you guys to do this to gain better accuracy. Instead of typing that in, do second answer. That will pull in all your previous entry values, and you won't have to type in as much things as well. So we do second negative sign, second A and S. Oops. 16.492. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so now we're going to transition over to law of sines. Okay, we have enough information now where we can just finish off the problem with law of sines. Because if I have a missing angle, at least I have a full pair that allows me to target either angle C or angle B. Okay, so I'm going to go to law of sines. Now we want to solve for angle B or angle C. I just want to just give you this option. You can stick with the same law of sines that you've been using, which is perfectly fine. If you're comfortable with it, then just go with it. But I just want to give you the option here that sometimes if you're solving for an angle, maybe you want to have your angle measure up top instead of below, just so that you don't have to try to get that denominator to be moved. So it's really up to you. You can usually, oh, sorry, B. Usually, we want to have the lowercase side lengths up in the numerator when we're trying to find a missing side. But if you want a missing angle, you can go ahead and set up this way. I'm still going to set up using A over sine A just because it's the way I've been doing it. But if you flip it, sometimes you can just save a little bit of writing because you don't have to worry about moving that denominator variable to the top. So that's just an option if you want to do it. Okay. Okay, I'll target B first. And then we have to involve A because we have full information here. Oops, A is 45. All right. Okay, cross multiply. Cross multiply, divide by the 16.492. Okay. Find that decimal value, and then we have to solve for the angle, so we have to involve inverse trig, right? Inverse sine. Once you get that value, I encourage you guys to use the second answer, so that's or the previous entry feature. So first up, we have to do inverse sine. So you can hit sine twice, and then you can type. I encourage you guys to use the second answer feature. So if we do second answer, it'll pull the previous entry, and which is going to have more accuracy because it's going to take in all those values. Angle B is 80.45 degrees. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so we're almost at the end. Once I have angle B, which is 80.45 degrees, it becomes a lot easier. Because the only thing missing is angle C, and how can I find angle C? Yeah, subtract 180, right? Once I have two angles, it's going to become easy. Just rely on 180 to help us out. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so to recap, we look at what's given to us. We realize it's a side angle side. If it's side angle side, we're going to choose to use law of cosines. It's going to help us get that one missing piece that we need so that we can finish the rest of the problem using law of sines. You want to target the angle that has information on it. So because angle A has information, I'm going to choose the formula that has angle A. Parentheses is going to be really helpful when you enter in the calculator. Enter everything on the right side of the equation, take the square root, find that missing side, and then transition over to law of sines and find and solve one angle at a time. Once you find one of the angles using arcsine, we'll finish off the last piece using 180-degree rule about the triangle. Okay, questions there? Okay. There's a second scenario where we have to involve law of cosines, and that is when we see a side-side-side triangle, where no angles are given, but all three sides are given. Okay. So here's the strategy for us moving forward with law of cosines. Because we're looking at this going, well, there's three formulas, right? Which one do we choose? And so you're going to target the angle, the largest angle. And your largest angle is always going to be across your longest side. Okay, so what's the longest side of this triangle? Yep, 24.3. So therefore, the longest side is going to lead us to the largest angle, right? Angle B. Okay. Are we okay there? Okay. So put a box around B because we know that that is going to be the formula that you choose. You want to choose the cosine formula that has angle B in it. Okay. Okay, go ahead and write that down. Page 13, number 2. Okay, so we identify the longest side. So that tells us we're going to target that angle B. Right, so look on the previous page. There's only one formula that has angle B in it. Yes. Yes, we're going to target and find that angle measure. Is that what? Yeah, so we're going to fill. This is not going to be as straightforward because we're not going to be solving for B. We're going to have to work our way around and solve for angle B. Okay. But we can still fill in as much information as we can. And the hope is that the only thing left over is this angle B here. Okay, so go ahead and fill that in. Okay, so B squared here. Okay, so this is a little bit more moving things around. We're trying to solve for cosine of b, so we're going to have to move things away from that cosine of b one thing at a time, right? So we're going to move that 19 squared, move that 21.8. Once we get all this cleaned up, we're going to have to divide this over, and then we'll have to involve inverse cosine to get that angle b. Okay, so do it one step at a time here. Okay, are we okay so far? We pull all the constants together. We multiply all these coefficients out in front. And now let's just divide the negative 828 over. And then we can get cosine of b by itself. Two negatives become positive, and now finally we can involve inverse cosine. Angle b and if you are able to hold on to a longer decimal value and then using second answer to help you get a more accurate value, we should be able to get down to 72.743 degrees. Okay, so as soon as you find the one thing that you need from law of cosines, we can transition over to law of sines and just finish off the rest of the problem. Students from previous period was asking, could you do law of cosines again? And the answer is yes. You can do law of cosines again and find the missing angles, but I just don't think it's as efficient. I think it's faster with law of sines, just cross multiply and doing a quick inverse. So, but the answer is yes. You can do law of cosines for the remaining angles, but it's just going to be faster. We're going to use law of cosines just to get that one missing piece that we need, and then usually it's faster to rely on law of sines.
On the quiz, can
Yeah, so on the quiz you could do either way, but I'm going to try to encourage you to use law of sines as soon as you get that one piece you need.
On the quiz, can you do the formulas?
Yeah, I'll give you the formulas. Sorry, say it again. How did I get? Oh, angle B. So angle B, I subtracted the values over. I divided that coefficient over. And now I'm using inverse cosine. So inverse cosine of 0.2966, 72 degrees. Is that what you're asking about?
Inverse of what?
Inverse of cosine? Because I'm trying to find a missing angle. So I have to involve inverse cosine. I can't just divide cosine over. Okay. Say that again. What's your question? Yeah. For side-side angle, you want to use law of sines. That's where we have that hanging side. We got to find that vertical. So here's the difference. Side-side angle has an angle that is not between the two sides. But side angle side, you see that angle is nicely between the two angles, so that's a side angle side. See that? It's the location of that angle. If the angle is not between the two sides, then we have a problem. Then we have got to go through that vertical process, that vertical height process that we have to do from last time. So you had a question? Yeah, because once you're here, you use law of sines to figure out the rest, right?
So like 2 and 3, all the same steps.
Yes, that's right. 2 and 3 is going to be the same steps, right? But because it's side, 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 we're going to have to start off using law of cosines. Okay. So once you have angle B, then you can rely on law of sines because you have a perfect pairing for B. And now I can just solve for angle A. Or C. I'm going to just target A first, though. Okay, just like before, cross multiply, get that sine A by itself, and then finish it off by doing inverse sine to get that angle A. Okay, everybody good with angle A? So it gets even easier. Now we can find that angle C by subtracting from 180. Okay, so again, to recap what we did for side, 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 if you see side, 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 you know you're going to target law of cosines. And then the first thing you do is find that longest side. That longest side will lead you to the largest angle. Once you find your largest angle, then you know which formula to use. You want to use the formula that is involving the largest angle. And then set up your equation. And then piece by piece, move things away from your cosine of that angle. Once you get it down to a point where you can solve for angle B using inverse cosine, then you can fill in that angle, and then we can transition over to law of sines. Set up your proportions, cross multiply, solve for that second missing angle, and then that third angle you can just use subtract from 180. Okay, questions with side, side, side. Okay, go down to number 3 and practice the same procedure as what you just did with number 2. same process.
Start with the largest angle. Oh, yeah, the negative is really good.
Yeah, I know.
The first one was like 67.
This
Would you do
this one.
Took me a while.
Three formulas. That's the one that we chose this one before, just because B was the largest. C probably the largest.
Oh, C's really great.
C is the largest. Okay, for number 3, what do you guys get for the largest angle? C, yep. So choose the formula that involves angle C.
Bless you.
If I had just not read a phone wrong, this was popping.
Last name. I don't think that. 46.
Okay, I'll go over this in a second. But for those of you working ahead, we're just going to finish off with page 14, number 1 and 2. Okay, so number 3, target your largest angle. So we definitely want to make sure we choose the correct equation. We want to choose the equation that has angle C. If you look at the previous page, we have 3 formulas there. We want to choose the one that's going to fit our problem the best here. All right. Fill in all your values and then piece by piece start moving things away from cosine of C. And then you'll use inverse cosine to help you find that missing angle. Make sure you are, yes. Yeah. Sure. Talk about the diagram. there's any questions about number 3, let me know. So again, once you find that missing angle using law of cosines, then you should be able to transition over to law of sines because we have enough information to set everything up, find one of the angles, and finally, the third angle you can find just by subtracting from 180. Okay, page 14, number 1 and 2, the problems don't have the triangle drawn for you, but you should be able to draw the triangle and be able to determine which category you're dealing with, and then be able to know whether you want to start with law of cosines or law of sines. Okay, so page 14. Draw your triangle. Your triangle may, we all may have a different orientation with our triangle, but we should be able to convince ourselves that this is going to be a what? What type of triangle? Side, angle, side. Yep, this is a side, angle, side here. Choose law of cosines first.
Just German.
Okay, so because angle A is given, you want to use the formula that has angle A in it. So the nice thing is they just provided here. We'll use this formula because that's the angle that's provided.
What's the answer?
For yeah.
Oh, this is good. Got it.
Minus. Otherwise, what's happening here is yeah.
I like how that one mistake changes from like 8,000.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're multiplying all this instead of subtracting it, and so that's going to make it a much larger number. Okay, check your steps for number 1. We should be able to find side A. Side A should be 7.804. It is good to practice with your calculator. Make sure that your order of operation is correct, that you are having all your plus and minuses in the right place. Once you find your missing side, then transition over to law of sines. It's going to be a little faster to finish off the problem using law of sines. And then once you find your angle B, or whichever one you want to choose to solve, I chose to solve for angle B first. And once I have angle B, then I can just find that last angle using subtracting from 180. Yes. Yeah, for 7. I think I may have. I may have gotten a truncated value of A that may have to allow some value of this side. Okay, number 2, without even drawing the triangle, can you tell what type of triangle it is? Side, 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 right? There's no angle given. Side, 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 you know you're going to use law of cosines. So once you understand this law of cosines, go ahead and choose the appropriate formula by finding your largest angle. Okay, any questions with 1? Okay, if you get done with 2, then we can stop, but I do want to, you can leave your paper out. I just want to come around and just check that you've attempted these problems. Okay, everybody good with 1? So number 2, which angle do we want to target first? C, yep. Largest side will lead you to the largest angle. Only use that negative sign because the first thing that comes up is that negative 3 plus 4.
I didn't know. Oh yeah, I found another one. I don't think like I'll use points if you're like yeah, right. Yeah. On the quiz, it feels like I give like the decimals.
Yeah, I'll be looking at your work.
Oh.
Or
So if the work is correct.
Yeah, the work is correct.
My jacket.
Okay, so we're good. Okay. Okay, so the problem is that this is connected to the side, so this is the last thing we want to subtract the 4 squared by 5, so it's all this multiplied on this side. Yeah. 89 minus that. So that is. Okay, so if you're good, I've come around and I've seen your work. But next Thursday we'll do our quiz review. I'm gonna post the review, which is in your packet, page 17 and 18. I'll post that on the website, and I will send you a text remind when that's ready. So I encourage you guys just to do some of those problems, just to kind of keep up with these concepts. But Thursday we'll do a full review. Thursday we'll go over each of the types of problems. I know it's the ambiguous case that we'll probably need probably more practice with. And then we'll do a full review Thursday, and then next Friday will be our quiz, just over law of signs and law of cosines. Yes.
Yeah, I looked over and yeah, but you can remain something.
Yeah, no.
I just got feeling something. That's like something.
You're imagining.
She's gonna forget that we have this conversation. She's gonna do it, I'm gonna like full board this. She comes out like.
Get everything done. Eight on the left side, -40 on the right.
Tell her I'm flattered. You people do this so nicely. Hold your milk.
This next one. I'm telling you not to email it and I got it.
Get identified. I think the easy thing is, if you see two angles given to you, then you know it's going to be wrong. The only trouble is side angle versus side angle. You can differentiate between these two and these two. The difference is that you see that angle between the two sides. That's not necessarily like that. It's going to be one triangle to solve. This is the one with the hanging side. See that side angle? This is the ambiguous. Then we gotta drop the version out, figure out that part, compare it, and see if it's 0 triangle, 1 triangle, 2 triangle, and then go from there. This is the longest one. Side A, yeah, and then side B. You got a matching pair, and then you have a random side. That's ambiguous case. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.